I always get cotton mouth right before I go on. I don't know what's with that, so I chug tea. Welcome to No Crime, No Time. And I just kind of wanted to dig in a little bit and see what you guys wanted to talk about today. I actually have some time on my hands. But before we get going, you guys, I want to just kind of share a little humor with you, a little lightness in what we all are going through. You know, we have to look at some things and try to pull humor out of it because humor actually heals our body. So if I offend anyone, okay, that it's not intended. All right. So this whole homeschooling thing has gotten to me, right? It's like I got two teenage boys. I got one that goes to be a senior next year if we make it. And then my youngest, of course, has difficulties. So anyway, things weren't going so well. So I finally called up the principal and I talked with her and she said, hey, I'll come right out to the house. I can work with the boys individually. We'll figure out what has to happen to get them to pass, make sure everything's good. I can look at their grades now. And I'm like, okay. So she goes through and she's like, I see all kinds of C's. I'm like, really? Good. She goes, well, I'll come out anyway and we'll just make sure if there's any real low grades that I help them out a little bit. I'm like, perfect. We'll be back on schedule. So she shows up and she's like, so what have you been working with them on exactly? What have you been talking to them about? And I'm like, well, I've been teaching them a lot. Like they can do their own laundry now. And they've both learned to cook. They know how to grocery shop. They know how to clean the house. They tend to the pets. And they know the rights. They know to ask for a lawyer immediately and tell someone they're a minor and they want their mother present immediately. And yeah, that's about where we are. They can mow the yard. And I feel like they're doing pretty good. You know, they're doing great. She's like, well, you know, but RD, their grades aren't the greatest. I'm like, well, I can't teach them everything. So that's my little bit of humor. She thought it was kind of funny too. I said, hey, you know, we'll get through it. So she was kind. She helped us out and we're back on track. Everybody's going to be getting good grades. We have some catch-up work, but we got it. So I just wanted to share that till everybody kind of got in seat here. Hey, Carl made it. Oh my God, I haven't seen Carl Martin in ages. It's been like us playing tag on Twitter for a while. And it says more over coming through. Oh, bring them all in. Hey, Mary, good to see you. And TTM, Fangirl, great to see you as well. And Being Green made it. Let's see who was the very first one that made it today. Mary, you're awesome. Not only did you make a live, but you made it here first. You're amazing. Thank you all for coming. So Linus Knight has been requesting me to do something on Kuss Road, and there really isn't any new developments that I've come across for Kuss Road. And I think we're all sitting kind of like where we don't really know where it fits in timeline. And that's where I thought that might be something that we could discuss today as a free-for-all. Like everybody just kind of chime in, jump in. And hey, Larry Starsman, good to see you. And Addiction Mouse, I like your name. Hey, Corey Zipper is here. Oh, hey, Corey, I have the day off. Oh my God, I've got some time coming off. I'm going to give you a call on Tuesday, Corey, so we can work on some more things for you. So I'm still working with locals, as you can see. And a friend of mine that really doesn't do any YouTube or isn't in this case or anything, she and I were just talking in general how corruption in general can really, not only does it affect a person in society to be viewed differently, it affects a person emotionally and mentally because you're triggered. So let's say that, somehow the police have wronged you, or law enforcement, or a law officer, or anybody of authority, your doctor or some school official. somebody that you have been preconditioned to trust automatically. Somebody breaks that trust in a really absurd way. It shatters a part of your reality. You hear where I'm coming from? Like, you're not sure if you're imagining stuff. You might start to question your own sanity. You're going to, you maybe you're afraid to share because you think people think you're nuts or crazy. Or maybe you want to share with everybody, but it just seems to alienate you because the authority figure is trying to discredit you by means of undermining your sanity, in public ways, creating a monster out of the victim rather than the accuser, getting very narcissistic bullshit, really. So, hey, Paula Bradley, good to see you. Being Green says, my children have been learning very important life lessons. Yes, we have. And I think we all took a humility pill. We learned to really expect more from those around us to be able to carry the weight of what we had to deal with. I think in general, it made us a lot stronger as a society. It woke up society. I don't care who you are, you have an opinion on this virus, right? We had a lot of people that didn't even have an opinion on anything. It was just like they had their head down and they were just cruising along in life in a zombie mode. So you have to pull the bad away and look at what's left and, okay, that's good. What can I take away from this to, use it as life lessons. So as to quote Being Green. Sherry Lynn Pontello, I hope I said your name right. Love you, Ducky. Can't stay. Promise I will watch in the morning. Thank you, love. I look forward to it. Paula Bradley says, good day, friends. I said it like with an accent. A friend of mine was joking off with me because she was like, you can't do any accents, Ducky. Everything you do just comes out sounding Southern. You start off for like 2 seconds British, and then you're like, right, y'all? I'm like, oh my God. It's so true. I can't do accents at all. She says, good day, friends. What do you think of Brendan's calls not being uploaded by foul play? Well, I think this is worth addressing. I've had more than a couple ask my personal opinion. First of all, I want to leave foul play out of it. I don't feel that I am in a place to judge because I actually don't have the calls in front of me to make that kind of decision. However, I pay attention very close to Brendan Dassey. And he himself has requested that his privacy be respected. Now, here's the complication. He doesn't always know what's good for him either. So I would say whoever gets their hands on these, because it won't be just one entity or one individual or one group, they eventually will come out. Unfortunately, people don't always know when to quit. But in that being said, if there is something in those calls that would actually benefit Stephen and Brendan's case, possibly new evidence, omissions, things of that said by people that may have thought that Brendan wouldn't catch on, but they were pumping him for info, or they were pumping him full of info. I feel like his lawyers would have been on that. Right? Don't you guys feel like Laura Knightrider and Stephen Drizzen would be on that? Or do they not have the calls? I would think they would have the calls. Hey, Linda Kahn. Good to see you. Larry Starsman's here. Okay, he said something about a good video I put out on about that. I'm not sure. I got to back up. I think I'm myself. Paula Bradley says, imagine all the things Scott, Barb, and Bobby are saying to him over the phone. They might hold the key to help Zellner. I think someone else is going to have to upload them. I think, how about this? In my personal opinion, I believe Zellner needs the copies, and I believe that Brendan's lawyers need copies. And I personally, and this is only my humble opinion, I would leave it at that because of Brendan's wishes to share them publicly. But I feel we can listen to them in the groups that we have privately to see if there's anything that warrants exposing. I don't know how to put it. It's very hard. We're talking about a young man that doesn't always know what's best for himself, but at the same time, he's very dear to all of our hearts, and the last thing we want is to invade his privacy and it be of no use or good. So I will refer this off to say, I would really love the lawyers to make it clear if they've listened to the tapes and if there was anything that they felt useful. That's what I will say to that. But yes, okay, I'm not going to lie. I want to hear what Scott and Bobby and Barb are saying to that boy. Absolutely. I want to hear what anybody said, anything. I want to really badly. But I don't want to upset Brendan either, in the sense that if there is nothing on there, then why should we put him through hell when he's already been through hell and back? It's just heartbreaking to think, this is a young man that is talking to the governor in that recorded message. And he's being explained to that he should talk to this governor to explain what he wants. And he starts talking to the governor like he's his best friend. And he's talking about Pokemon, and it just broke my heart. And I think we all felt that. You look at that, and how do you make a call like that? How do you know if he knows what's best for himself? So yeah, I would refer to the lawyers. Manser Crooner, good to see you, says, I think there may be a lot of crying on the calls, and that would embarrass him. Yeah. That's where I'm going. I don't want to feel ashamed that I broke that trust I feel we owe Brendan when he couldn't trust anybody. So I would prefer the lawyers to dig in if they haven't. And if they've already dug into these calls and there's nothing, then no, I don't want to listen to them. Paula makes a good point. Paula Bradley says, I don't think his lawyers would have the time to go through them, and the lawyers want to stay on his family's good side. They are a different bunch. Huh. Corey wants to know if they, the locals like Corey and Stacy, could help Brendan with our proof at the governor's office, entrapped by some of the same people. That's what I want to know too, Corey, is if we have so many different locals that are coming forward and naming the same individuals, screwing up their lives, framing them, entrapping them, ruining these individuals' lives, I feel like I'm the owl on the branch with the Tootsie Roll, and I'm like, how many locals does it take that prove corruption before we get to the center of this matter and really solve it? It's very frustrating. I don't know, Corey. I'm still trying to work on this, I'm hoping that I hear from somebody like Zellner. I don't know, Corey. I wish I had more answers. I wish I had something to give the locals other than I can be a journalist and I can share your story. Hey, Sean, morning made it. Woo! Good to see you. I love it when everybody's together. Hey, Glenn Mack. Nice to see you. Larry Starsman says, I keep tweeting Governor Evers. I think everybody needs to. I'm on board. I'll try. I'll be diligent. I've been like crazy busy working, but I don't really think that's a good excuse because I do get breaks, so I will definitely back you up on that, Larry, and so will Sean. Let's hear it for everybody giving Governor Evers tweets. Thank you, Larry, for the inspiration. Ronald DeCass says, Brendan's calls around the trial time had a very immature personality speaking. He would be spouting off immature statements he would find embarrassing. Most likely, I mean, he was a little kid. You know? And not just was he a little kid, but he was a little kid that didn't even understand all the complexities of the language and the way it can be turned and twisted and manipulated. You know, it's really frustrating when you think of poor Brendan and everything he's been through. And yet, I mean, who really is left but maybe 2 people on this planet that even could conceive that Brendan did this? Now, one thing I will say, I noticed it in several different areas where they were doing podcasts. I just kind of jumped around this past week or two. And a lot of the statements on Facebook and Twitter and stuff was about the fact that if you took all the scenarios that Brendan Dassey was coerced to say and you tried to actually make a murderer, get it? Make a murderer? Well, this is just make a murder out of it. You know, I kind of coined a phrase there a little bit, make a murder. So if you try to take everything Brendan says and then you put that on the whiteboard on the left side. Now, on the right side, we're going to list out our evidence, okay? Now, to pass this test to make a murder, you need to align those. Good Lord, that's a brilliant concept. Okay, think of this, you guys. We're actually going to do this. We're going to get a whiteboard. And we're going to design a board on our next broadcast here that has all of Brendan Dassey's story as to what happened that they used to say he killed Miss Halbach. Okay? We'll label those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever. And then over here, we'll list out the evidence that was found to see if we can actually crisscross and match anything. Now, wait a minute. We don't even got to do that. You know why? Because there is no evidence. Could have had a V8, right? No, there is no evidence. That's my point. I mean, this is just absurd. And if Governor Evers would like to try to pass the test there and connect the dots for me on the ones I'm going to list, go ahead. But if you can't, the deal is you got to let him come home. If Governor Evers can't pass this one little bitty test, Brendan Dassey goes home. And that's to match the stories, the coerced confession, when the Reed's torture procedure was done to a child with language difficulties, and the checkpoint, the control question was blown by the officials there, the police officers there. It's unbelievable. I've said this so many times, Brendan Dassey is absolutely an American hostage. Political hostage. So, Teresa Taylor, good to see you, and Barbie Ellen. Barbie Ellen says, it's Brendan that don't want the call out, not the family. Aw, Corey, thank you. Corey Zipper says, it's okay, RD. Not your fault. Thanks for all you do. TTM Fangirl says, hey, cool, it's Sean Mornay. Teresa Taylor says, I think Brendan is a very empathetic, I couldn't read that. Oh, like an empath person, empathetic, and therefore will be protective, especially for family. I do too. I agree, Teresa. I agree. Barbara Ellen says, plus Brendan was a minor. Patricius Brokes, or no, how do I say this? Brokos? I may have said that wrong. I'm sorry. Greetings from Maryland. Awesome. Stuart King, good to see you. There needs to be answers. The whole case is baffling. Paula Bradley, His family doesn't want them out. He is being used by them. He has not seen the series, doesn't understand everything. That's another point made by a lot. Brendan's never seen Ma'am. He has no idea who has been saying what behind his back, you know. But let's think of Brendan right now, okay? If he only has a handful of individuals that are coming to see him, even if it's an illusion of happiness, to him, it's real. It's real. It's family. It's blood. I don't care the reason. If they're bringing him a smile, if they're bringing him hugs, if they're bringing him kisses, I really don't give a damn about the reason. At this point, as long as Brendan's content while he's in there. However, if the lawyers don't have time to do this, then I would say, in my personal opinion, foul play needs to go over those calls with extreme detail, would be my suggestion, just a humble opinion, themselves in a private setting to see if there's anything that would affect the case in a major way. I mean, at this point, I think we could have Teresa Halbach just walk in the courtroom and be like, here I am, ta-da! And they'd be like, nope, that's not going to work. We got the right guys. Just go about your business, Teresa. Yeah, that's how I feel. I'm sorry. It's frustrating. The state asking for more words. Every word they say is a lie. So sure, give them more words. Let them hang themselves. Maybe if they're given more words, instead of selecting just a partial part of a sentence that seems to back their crap, they'll include the full text of what they're saying that proves they're full of crap. I mean, did I say I think their state's full of crap? Enough, because I do. Sean Mornay says, tweet, post on Facebook, send emails to everyone you can, make noise in Ever's direction. He needs to be made to hear your voices. I totally agree, Sean. We're going to have to do another, I think it's Diane that always calls him the Twitter storms. I love that. And so let's get a Twitter storm roaring for Memorial Day weekend. Let's kick it out. It's also coming up. Eric Cozy's birthday coming up on the 27th. My birthday's on the 27th. For my birthday wish is that I'm going to make it big, you guys. A goal so over the top that Governor Evers would be forced to listen. I'm going to ask for 1 million tweets to Governor Evers. I don't care how many of us do it. Just 1 million tweets for my birthday to Governor Evers. From now until after Memorial Day weekend on the 27th is Eric Cozy's birthday and mine. And I'm sure he'd be up for this too. Let's show how truthers can make our own movement, whether we agree if that RAV is green or whether we agree it's blue, or whether we feel she's alive or whether we feel she's dead, or whether we feel that Kuss Road's involved or not. Whoever you feel is a suspect, let's still tweet Evers as one united group, just a massive, monumental wave for every supporter out there to tweet him until after the 27th of May. How's that, you guys? Hopefully we'll get a lot of people. Ronald D. Cass points out, I am concerned guilters will FOIA the calls and release content out of context. Now, that's a horrifying thought. I almost feel like, if I could hide your comment, not because it's not true, not because, but because it scares me to think what the guilters really would do. Well, we would have to really dig in to make sure that the context was made some way. Sean says, I'm sure they will, Ronald. Paula Bradley says, his mom lied about the porn on the computer. Bobby was looking up violence. She knew that. Deborah Walden says, if IRC, Dolores says, in Stevens calls that Bobby was always beating up on Brendan. Wonder if Bobby was trying to intimidate Brendan from talking. Well, There, hi, Eamon 141. Good to see you. And Glenn MC. I'm seeing if I missed anybody. I think I've gotten. If I missed you, please forgive me. It's not intentional. Um, there was those statements by Brendan that were interesting because we're missing a slight bit of time in the actual videotape, which is just long enough to have the name of who he's speaking about removed. I mean, it is. So why is there a cut right there? And then he goes into this spiel about how he was mad because he wanted his blazer photographed. Well, we all know that Stephen already had his blazer photographed, so that isn't it. Who else has a blazer? We know it's Bobby. And in that he talks about being threatened. I think my dog's just getting... My dog is getting old, like she's hitting almost 10. And I'm starting to notice signs, like she coughs a little bit now and then. And I'm like, oh, poor baby. Anyway, so when you look at that, it's like, I don't know. The whole thing is so frustrating. Is Bobby actually the one on the computer? That's another question. Is Bobby really the one on the computer? I mean, where's the ramping up? He goes from being, I think he's like 16 when they get the computer and 19 when it's confiscated. I don't understand. I have raised 3 kids, 3 boys. And none of them that I know of look up any porn. But, I'm a realistic mom. Who knows if they've gotten curious or something. But I have checked their internet history from time to time. As a parent, I want to make sure my boys aren't digging into something that they need to know the real knowledge about. And I'll tell you what, I kept thinking, wouldn't it have started off with like a few searches, but to be obsessive instantly and nothing the day before? I feel like it's out of place. It just seems out of place. Sean Mornay says Brendan needs to come home. Yes. So Glenn MC says, if you look at what Barb said on SA Calls about TH leaving, you never know what she has blurted out on BD's calls. Oh, Lord. This is true, too. Glenn goes on to say, I'm sure if foul play come across anything important, they will do the right thing. I do, too. I mean, they will. I know them. And the thing is they want Brendan home. And if they knew that there was something on there that is going to get Brendan or Stephen home, they know that Brendan would want that more. So I guarantee you they'll do the right thing. I think we just need to trust each other in this. That if it is something that will get these guys home, it'll be known. Because the truth will always be revealed. We know this. Larry Starsman says, like Kose says, keep it classy. Yep, I agree with that. Mary says, we feel one thing, they are both innocent. True. Sharon Lynn Pontello says, Ducky, one thing, just make sure you discuss the smell with everyone. She was not burned on ASY, not possible. Been on 2 burned body crime scenes. The smell permeated the community for days. Yeah, there's no way Teresa could have been burned in the area around Avery's. No one complains about an odor. So think of Robert Fabian going along with Earl on the golf cart. Remember, Fabian keeps making that stupid joke about the Suzuki and over about selling it, and it just is retarded. And he ends up making a comment that because Steven didn't laugh at his joke for the 100th time, that he looked manic, and therefore he looked suspicious to Fabian. Well, when Fabian's going by this burn barrel that he claims is burning, he says he smelt something. You would know if it was a telephone. You would know if it was anything like that. So I got really mad when my ex left me. I took my iPad out and I took a Taurus pistol and I went to the range and I shot the hell out of that iPad because he bought it for me and whatever. So I was probably, I'd say 20 yards. I'm trying to think. 20 feet. I don't know. I was 20 yards probably. I don't know. I was a ways away. It was a very tiny dot on the horizon when I hit it with this. It smelt where I was within seconds. I could smell it burning. It's electronics. It has a very peculiar, crisp smell. So if Robert Fabian's going by, it can't be electronics. And it sure the hell can't be a body. Because can you imagine if it does like Sherry Lynn's saying and permeates the community? It leads me to wonder if these were bones coming onto the property, where'd they get the bones from? Where'd they get the bones from? Corey says, Kratz promoting his book on Channel 2 News pissed us off. Channel 2 refused to tell public any real facts, complete involvement. And, you know, Corey, you're so right. Like Calumet County actually sent out a statement every time that the news would be broadcast. Right before that, they sent out their statements, and the statements were literally read as Calumet wrote them. There was no journalism done into the case except for interviews. That was it. They didn't actually dig into the case to see if what somebody said made sense or whether it was true or not. They just plopped it out there, and before you know it, Sheriff Pogel has gone out there and stated to the public, quote unquote, that the FBI stated that the bones matched the 25-year-old freelance photographer Teresa Halbach, when that is not at all what the FBI said. In fact, Kratz thought that was quite funny in his email to Sherry Culhane when he was talking about how, you know, it was quite interesting what the public perceives and he can't control that. Well, we know what that was about. Poisoning the jury pool, poisoning the whole world with lies and corruption. Hey, Grandmas, good to see ya. Barbara Ellen believes that Bobby is innocent and the whole family is. That's a possibility. There possibly could be. Sherry Lynn goes on to talk about the smell to kind of explain it to us because she's been through it. She says the smell was caught in her nostrils for 2 days and could not eat. Oof. She also says you would not mistake it for anything else. It signals your brain something is seriously wrong here. Hey, iced coffee, good to see you. Corey Zipper says, easy for Scott to plant stuff on computer. All kinds of motive. Take heat off police who entrapped and murdered, just misdirection. Barbara Ellen says, Corey Zipper, stop lying. What's he lying about? It could have been Scott on the computer. Charles Britannia, I hope I said that right. He already got a question. Do you think the pic of Teresa in the RAV4 is photoshopped? Oh, such a rabbit hole. Let's see. Boy, if I tell you the truth, you guys will want to know why. I'll just give you the truth. Yes, I do, but not for the reasons you think. Does that make sense? I don't know. Sean Morey says, foul play are full of right intentions. Everything they do is in search for the truth. They're a very good group from a very wide variety of backgrounds, scientists, housewives, and good guys. Corey says, killed at Vogel's farm. Teresa was my guess. Blueprint would dictate that sort of action. Well, Corey's talking about when he says blueprint is when you look at like Casey and Stacy Zipper's case as well as the Bembenek case, we have the same players. We have the same law officers, and they're investigating the crime with the same blueprint. And they tend to entrap people. They tend to make it sound like this person's absolutely crazy. This person's a monster, and they try to discredit them. And I see this time and time again, even like Courtney Skinner, when she started digging into the Skinner case, she's dealing with a lot of the same Calumet officers and even the same state level officials, and was being treated like she was absolutely insane. And here we're talking about the death of a 2-year-old in foster care that never was properly investigated. And there was bruising on the body in the autopsy photos that was completely hidden from the public and even hidden from the family for years. Grandma says Bobby was doing the searching on the computer. Timeline proves it. And the computer was in, I think you mean his room. It was in both rooms. It was in the family room, and it was also in his room at a time. I do know that. Manser Crooner says Grissenbach thought it was bones found in Stephen's burn barrel, and he was on the scene. Don't you think that's odd when he should be in the know? You know what makes me wonder when you've got somebody in the know is why Lincoln Jinsky's notes, as they state right on there in the stuff that supposedly he showed Brendan, was a body measurement in a dig site, photographs of it. So in the know, there was no body that was burnt on Stephen's property, I assure you. Not a shadow of doubt in my mind. And Zellner said the same thing. Never happened. You have to look at it and say, well, if Grissenbach says there was bones there, then he's absolutely basically stating that he's in on the frame up himself. Because there's no scientific way that this case went down the way the state said. There were no bones that were in Stephen's pit, period. Well, no body got burnt there. And it wasn't Stephen's burn barrel that they found bones in. It was a Dassey burn barrel that they found bones in. Hey, DJ So Cool. Good to see you. Ronald D. Cass just got called in. Gotta go. Love you, RD. We'll listen replay. Love you much. See you again soon. Ian Rose. Corey Zipper says can't have a criming without local news involved. Crime ring. Oh, okay. I get it. Can't have a crime ring without local news involved. We found this out in the mid-90s with Channel 5. Barbara Ellen said Brendan is doing good. Charles Britannia, please tell. Oh, really? Why I think it's photoshopped? If I do, it will take a whole nother video. So I'll tell you what, we'll do it in the future. We'll do it in the future because a lot of people won't be able to follow what I'm even saying. I just don't think that that's a legitimate photo for now is all I'll say. DJ wants to know what the update is. The update is that Zellner did her thing, and we've been waiting this entire time on the state. And then the pandemic happened, and the state dragged their feet, and and they needed an extension, so we gave them that. Now they just responded, asking if they could have more words to respond with. And that was granted. So we're still waiting on the state. I feel like we're in a soap opera where you can go away for about a year or two and you come back and you don't miss a beat. It's so frustrating. I cannot even explain it. Grandma says, I believe they found a body on Kuss Road. Well, let's look at something, you guys. I did do something. So I thought about things like this. Right here, if you see this dot, where I've got this little picture. Whoops, don't mean to move that one. So this little guy right here in the middle is where they take the state patrol. You see that guy? He's standing up here on this hilltop, and he's doing the GPS for an accident. This tells me, when you have state patrol doing this, this is after an actual accident is done. It's done for measurements, and it's done with a laser, and it's precise measurements, okay? When you look at this, we'll get this a little bigger. This is Kuss Road. Had its own burn barrel right here. And you can see yellow tape. So something took place down at Kuss Road, right? And I've always said, I believe they found a body. That's just me. Okay? Or bones, but... So this is that little walkway you would drive down to go to Kuss Road Deer Camp. Go from Kuss Road at the cul-de-sac where it turns around onto this paved part, and you can see that yellow tape that they put up. Takes a bend. Let me see if I can get it bigger. It takes a bend behind these trees. A long ways. Do you see that? So the yellow tape comes all the way out here, and then it stops, and it goes straight back. I think they found something. But the very important picture for me personally is this one, if I can get it. There we go. I got so many pictures. And I know this is really blurry. Let me see if I can bring it topside here. Don't you always wonder, or is it just me? That's a stump. I know it's very low resolution. I know I'm asking you to make a leap. But is it possible, or is there anybody that can convince me that under that folded little piece of cardboard isn't a body bag? I mean, that's what, every time I see this, I always feel like that looks like a body bag to me. Even if it's just a partial body. If the legs are away from us, who knows? But it does. It looks, the way it's tied at the top, it's got the cardboard over it, it's got the stump. And then when you refer back to what Bushman's talking about, he's talking about a stump and peat moss and an old tarp. And then you listen to Zellner, and she's talking about this burn, or this body site. I don't know, you guys. I just always look at this and I'm like, how do we know? How do we know what really was found there? We've got to figure it out. Let's get back over here. So Barbara Ellen says, I believe they did something to the computer when they had it for 5.5 months. Interesting. They certainly could have at this point. And who knows, Fassbender was probably watching that video quite often. Why has he got it in his own personal collection? That totally breaks the chain of... That's why. Fassbender took home those CDs of Bobby's, that big CD, in his personal collection to purposely break the chain of custody, I betcha. There are so many Denny violations in, and I just, Brady violations, I mean. And there's so many Denny suspects. Brady violations and Denny suspects. It's just unreal. Carl Martin says, if Bobby was innocent, he'd work with and not have been avoiding her. And let's not forget, he's not been to CBD at all in prison. That's a lot of weight, isn't it, Carl? He doesn't even go see his brother. How would you feel about yourself if you didn't even go see him? That's so sad. Yeah, just work with KZ, Bobby. If you didn't do it, Bobby, get out there and talk to KZ. Let's get this done, wrapped up, be done. Barbara Ellen does say Bobby has been to see Brendan in prison. Barbara Ellen thinks they're deer bones. Huh. You know, that's been another theory people have had. No bones at all. Just what if that's all just deer bones? I went on a walk one time, a hike with a girlfriend of mine, and some friends of ours had an old house. It was falling apart and stuff, and we went there and we were like, whoa, what did we just get into? It had been a dumping ground for deer skeletons, so they would have to get rid of the bones and stuff after they hunted, and it was horrifying looking. And let me tell you, those leg bones look like leg bones, like human leg bones to me. And I don't know bones. I'm just saying it was just overwhelming. How do we know that they didn't pass off? I mean, we can't really rely on the anthropologist. You can't be like, well, she would know the difference. How do you know? She just got done screwing up right before trial in the Christine Rudy case and told the entire public that that was the fetus, the infant that was in the burn pile. Those bones were the infants. Turns out they were birdie bones. Tweet, tweet. Yep. So that's actually, sadly enough to say, that is highly possible they could have been deer bones at this point. Then you're like, well, the FBI tested them. The FBI tested whatever Culhane sent them. Whatever Eisenberg sent them. That's it. And at this point, I don't know. Eisenberg wasn't in a very good position to be playing poker with corrupt cops, if you follow my drift. You know, every one of the people that seem to be experts in this case all have this, like Kratz, they've all got this secret problem or even public problem that they're fighting. So they're twistable, they're bendable, they're moldable because they're under the corrupt thumb of the higher power that's controlling the case. Miss Hostel, hi, says, sorry, Carl, that's incorrect. Okay. They're correcting you, Carl, saying that Bobby has been to see Brendan in prison. I get you. Hey, Kimmy Monster, good to see you. Okay, now there's the dispute. Carl is stating that no, Bobby has not went and seen Brendan. And Ms. Hostel and Barbara are both saying yes, he has. I'm going to let you guys work that out. It's just interesting. I think there's another thing, though. Bobby has not went to work with Zellner, right? Bobby, I really want you to go. I can't say anything whether you're innocent or guilty, Bobby. I really can't. But I will say this. In a world of corruption, if you're not guilty, going and working to uncover the truth, even if you risk something of your own, maybe you were doing something you shouldn't have been. You know, you were young, you're a teenager, 19 years old. We all do stupid shit. You can't let that overwhelm you to the point you don't go tell the truth. So what's happening is, with you not working with Zellner, we have no other option to believe that you have something to hide. And when these CDs are out there and everybody thinks these horrible things of you, I keep thinking that all the Averys were played like a banjo by the local law enforcement. I believe personally that corrupt law officials, whether they were retired or not, I personally believe they had their hand in the actual disappearance of Teresa Halbach. And I believe that Averys were played like a fiddle. I believe Avery's helped in covering up stuff for the cops. I believe that other maybe neighbors helped and so forth, because I believe the cops had that area wrapped up tight in a little knot. They knew what they were pulling out. They had Kathy Williford doing the auto trader job. She, by all accounts of Angela Schuster, for Auto Trader herself, she's the one that said, I believe this to be a DOJ agent, Department of Justice agent, running right before Teresa on the route. Took him straight to Avery's. Also, I thought of something. So, I don't know. It's never really talked about how one of the times that Teresa went to Avery's, a man went along with her, an associate. If Teresa felt threatened by Avery, don't you think she would have taken somebody? I don't buy this crap where he came to the door in a towel and it terrified her. Because if she was so terrified, she would have brought somebody with her. Avery's isn't like next to Walmart. It's a very rural area. And it takes a little while to get there and drive in side roads and so forth. If she was very concerned, she would have taken somebody with her, in my opinion. All right. Grandma says that Bobby says Teresa was going towards Stephen's trailer. He did not see Stephen, so Bobby is the last person to see her alive. Yeah. Well, and we know from Barb's statement that Bobby saw her leave the property. And then we know from Stephen's statement that Bobby's truck was gone. The only question I personally have is, was Scott Tadage hanging out at that house because they ping at each other's supposed locations, according to Zellner? It's like they trade places or something. And then you have Blaine talking about seeing Bobby in the green Ford Ranger. Did somehow Scott Tadage switch places with Bobby Dassey without Bobby Dassey truly understanding the nefarious nature of it? Just thinking he's too busy to get his own picture of the truck taken. Did they somehow switch places and then Scott was in that truck? I don't know. Or was it just plain Bobby and then Scott helped with cleanup? DJ said, so cool. I can only imagine what SA is going through. It's a hurry up and wait game they play. Poor guy, SMH. He'll be free soon, as I believe that in my heart. Thanks, RD. I would give anything to have Brendan home with his family. This is a kid that is pure heart. There's no way around it. He didn't do it. It's impossible. Out of all these years, his character speaks very loudly. He has been a role model individual of nothing but kindness, forgiveness, and love. And that's an amazing young man. I honestly say this from the bottom of my heart. I have two boys that I hope grow up with the compassion that Brendan has shown on humanity, because every single one of us in society failed Brendan in so many ways, and it's just heartbreaking. Let's see. Yeah, Kimmy Monster says that's a lot of taping off. Yeah. I mean, if Linus was here, I would have went ahead and discussed a little bit more of Kuss Road, because I feel like T1's like, suggestion, may want to rename this video Free for All. Avery chat, seems anything goes in chat, BS or not. Yeah, it's just kind of a free for all. We may have to rename this one. I was waiting on Linus, to be honest, but he didn't show up yet. He probably is to work. I kind of sprung it on him. I don't know. I talked very briefly about Kuss Road, and yeah, it's just a free for all chat. But I do like that free for all chat. It's kind of nice. Barb Ellen says Brendan is in prison because of Wiegert and Fassbender. Oh my God, amen. Pass that damn butter. Let's eat. Right? I mean, I don't care who you are. That's 100% true. Those are the two individuals that really screwed him over. And Smelly Kelly. Smelly O'Kelly, I'm saying right now, I would like to honestly have him in a room and just go off on him verbally for like an hour till he's begging mercy. This man took this child and told him to write the truth. When the child wrote the truth on paper, he basically told him, Brendan, you want to go to jail the rest of your life? Because that's not going to get you out. You're going to have to write what I tell you. Deborah says, we are not here to kiss Barb's ass. We are here because Stephen and Brendan are innocent. Oh, I ain't kissing nobody's ass. My main suspect is Scott Tadich. So, and that will be for a long time. I don't hide that ever. I find the fact that he doesn't work with Zellner disturbing. I also find that disturbing about Bobby. I do find that when I review the information about Bobby, it doesn't click as tight for me as everybody else. I have a lot of questions. I also have, like I said, I've raised boys, and it bothers me that they may have had him in some chokehold type. You know, if he was a kid at 19 and he had drugs in Wisconsin, if he would have had something really bad in drugs, he may have possibly been so blackmailed that he threw everybody else under the bus, which I wouldn't have any more respect for than if he had killed someone. However, I want the real truth, and that's what I try to get out of this. So no, I'm not kissing nobody's ass. I feel bad for Barb in times. There's times I'm mad at you, Barb. You know, you've listened to my videos. I don't play friends with anybody. I just say what I feel. So let's go ahead and scroll down. Deborah Walden says, we are not here to kiss Barb's ass. I read that. Okay, Nan's Life. Good to see you. Got that right at Barbara Ellen, and hopefully they pay for what they did to Brendan. No crap. Fassbender and Wiegert had to apologize on the video right off the bat to Brendan for the previous untaped interviews that got rough and in his face. Their words. How do you break a kid? Get rough and in their face off camera? And then when you got them on camera, start telling them you know the truth, but yet the prosecution keeps shouting out that Kratz is always saying only the killer knows the truth. But the cops are telling Brendan, we know the truth. Come on, we know it. And lo and behold, Brendan didn't know the truth and couldn't say, hey, they shot her in the head. But the cops did. That's horrifying to think about. I mean, you're a kid and the cops just told you what happened to the victim and you didn't know it. And they're telling you, we know what you did. Well, apparently not. Hey, Dark Side, good to see you. All right, let's scroll down a little bit. Corey Zipper says, have a long past with these two cops, Barb. Would love to talk to Brendan's lawyers. Have proof we entrapped as well. It is interesting, Barb. I'm telling you, Corey Zipper and Stacy Zipper, I've looked into some of their stuff. You know, the same cops in the Skinner case in the Calumet part. All of you locals are being manhandled, and I believe coerced in ways that you don't even understand by your local authorities. And I think once they get you, they don't let you go. And so I'm trying to bring all you locals together to give you strength in number, because together you guys can stand tall, and we can try to protect you by basically just sharing stories out there. But hey, Barb, if ever you want to do an interview with me, I will absolutely show immense respect to you for doing so. Will I ask questions that are only in your favor? No, ma'am. I'm going to ask the questions I've been dying to ask. But I would be delighted to have an interview with you. Or even Scott. Get them on the phone. Let's do some interviews. Let's figure out what the real truth is. And if, Scott, you have nothing to hide, go to Zellner. Dude, that's all I'm saying. Work with Zellner, because at this point, we're hearing you're hiding your DNA, that you're picking up your cigarette butts, hiding it from her. And we know that there's a lot of things that Zellner and that truthers have discovered that do not look good for you. So I would appreciate it. So would everybody else. If we could just get a move on, get these guys home. And if it was the cops, then it's now or never, dude. Seriously. It's now or never to get the truth out there. Go to Zellner as a family unit. Sit down with her. Get it all out there. Because we know Wiegert and Fassbender, O'Kelly, Lynn Kaczynski worked Brendan like he was taffy. Pulled and prodded and twisted and turned and molded. And that's where we get. It should have been making 2 murderers, right? That's the Andrew Whitehead who thought it out correctly. So. Matzer Crooner says the Deer Camp, Kuss Road are much, much credible murder disposal sites than ASY. Yeah, I agree. You know, it's got a little bit more privacy. You don't have people riding 4-wheelers through it. You don't have somebody with, a golf cart coming through there with the radio player and to bring you your mail. Kuss Road is a lot more hidden with trees and, deer camp. People are hunting. It just ended being, John Boats pointed out and proved it, that it had been T-zone that year on the 30th. So to hear gunshots down there would not have been so far-fetched if T-zone, gun, deer had ended the day before, right? Glenn MC says they didn't get Brendan to confess on the prison call. That call makes me sick. Barbara's responsible for that. Mary says, I always said, Ducky, you were right. Kuss Road is key. I really feel that. I can't let Kuss Road go. Kimmy Monster says, pass off a body there would be easy. Well, think about those pelvic bones with kerf marks. Now, here I go again. Anybody that hunts bear and is tied or connected to deer camp or hunting in that area would be suspect to me. Because when you hunt bear or deer, deer is going to put you in the area. And bear, if you're a bear hunter and you have to actually cut up a bear, which is done actually, you need certain saws. I would love it if Zellner could get the pelvic bone just for that even. Or even get the pictures of the kerf marks so clear that we could get precise measurements and then figure out what made the kerf, what created that wide ridge blade mark on those bones. Was it something in a crematory from a funeral home that made those cut marks? Was it something out of a bear kit where you would cut up bear with those saws, those little hand saws for joints and so forth? Why can't we just get something simple like that, like the photographs of the bones, the x-rays, where we could measure that to even determine what type of weapon was used to cut these bones? Barbara Ellen says, you guys all want to know something. Wiegert used to always say to me, the yard or my brother, and I always told him neither. Okay, I do want to know something, but let me reread that. You guys all want to know something. Wiegert used to always say to me, the yard or my brother, and I always told him neither. Oh, the yard or my brother. That is so sad. So, Barb, how did you end up with the house? I know Wiegert was like pushing you to get off the Avery salvage yard. Why did he want you to get off the salvage yard? T1 says, anyone else think Kuss Road looks like a good place for some truth train tracks? Good Lord, can you imagine? They say dogs can still track. I would love it if Josh Radant would let us on that property like with Good Grace and the Averys and so forth, and let us retrack those dog tracks and see where the cadaver dogs would lead. Because if they took you right back, I just feel like there would be more to it. I mean, the cadaver dogs hit in the quarry, in Redon's quarry, so far up on the gravel. What was it, 8 or 10 feet or something? Grandma says, what if 2015 they gave the Halbach family, if you would follow my dream, you would know. What if 2015 they gave the Halbach family, if you follow my dream, you know. You lost me, Graham. You're going to have to give me more clues. Yeah, when did Kuss Road happen? Did it happen after all the witnesses saw the vehicle on the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or even 2nd and 3rd on State Highway 147? It would almost have to, right? Or am I twisted on my thinking? Kimmy Monster says they're all hiding secrets. Barbara Allen. Deborah says you should do a video. Barbara, I'm going to tell you, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life as a mother. And we all have. All moms, all dads make mistakes. So, I'm not here to kiss your ass. I'm not here to give you an award either. I think we've all been a shitty mom at times, and I think we all have regrets as to how we raised some of the things we did with kids. But I will say this. I can get past you more than I can Scott. Because Scott was bragging about stuff at work before the news knew about it. Scott was trying to sell a gun. Scott put himself in this case. And the timing of your marriage was strange to me because it was right before trial. And I get maybe you felt like you needed someone, but at the same time, I felt like it was being used against you. That way you wouldn't be able to testify against Scott. And the fact that Scott gunned for Stephen when we know Stephen didn't do it. I've never heard Scott apologize for doing that to Brendan or Stephen. And Scott brought up molestation possible on Stephen to Brendan. But now if none of that happened, if that was just the way the reports were done, then you can clear it up. Get on. Come on and let's have a conversation. We can do it on a phone call and you can call in. I promise you, I will treat you 100% respectful. Yes, I want answers, but so does everybody else. Let's clean this up. Look at the hell we've all been through with this pandemic. We were only quarantined for 6 weeks? We went nuts. Brendan's been in there forever. My heart just breaks. It is cult-like in Manitowoc and Calumet, in the southern part of the state. Nan's Life 7 says Barb had no control over the situation unless you've worn her shoes and been put into her situation. Then you can't lay blame. If they intimidated BD, then they surely could have done the same with Barb. Dark Side of the Moon says, yay, Kimmy Monster. Mary says, yes, he has Ducky 20 times in 10 years. I lost what did he do in 20 times in 10 years? Mary, I need you to tell me what he did, and now you got my curiosity. Corey Zipper says, visited Dolores Avery several times, always kept from giving information or talking to Barb Tadich. Incidentally, she's the go-between the public and the Netflix. She still can't contact her. Barb, Corey Zipper would like to talk to you. I would be willing to connect the two of you if ever you wanted to. I'm just opening that up. If you're not interested, I respect that. Not something I am pushing hard for, but I do feel that the locals coming together as a group really need each other. I know Courtney has asked that I give you her information. So the next time you think about it, can you hit me up for that? And I'll make sure and give you Courtney's info. What's up, Gretchy? Come here. My old dog's starting to cry. I got to pick her up. Just a minute. Oh, come on. Oh, she's getting so old. Get down. Okay. Master Crooner says, on another broadcast, it was suggested Bobby has been about 3 times. Justin L., good to see you. Justin says to T1, do the track stop at the stump. Don't you wonder? I want to look at that again. Let's make it bigger. I know it doesn't get any clearer, but it doesn't get any really blurrier either. It's just bigger. What do you guys think? So if you look at that, you've got the stump. You can see like the yellow cross-it lines are coming to a T. And the stump is kind of like right under where all the crime tape meets. That's definitely a stump. We have no doubt. Then you have the like something, whether it's cardboard or is it a tarp? I don't know. And that stump's a pretty good size. But then under it, my God, you guys, they use these white body bags that you literally loop tie the end on for their disposable body bags. I would think all body bags would be disposable. Anyway, does it not look like that? And the aerial's going over, so they're covering it with this tarp or whatever, or cardboard. You see what I'll put it right in the center. I think that's about the center. What do you guys think? Do you think that could be a body? Let's see here. The Drum Studio Fife says, hi from England. Holy cow, good to see you. I've been following your stuff and Follow Play channel. You're doing a great job, Rubber Ducky. Aw, thank you, Richie. Aw. T1 says, Justin, if you try to stop that truth train, yes, you will end up with a stump. Interesting thought. That's what Bushman said. Was, the stump, the peat moss, and a burial site. Temporary even if, but I mean, it's temporary is could be a week, could be less, could be what they found. The dogs wanted down on Kuss Road, wouldn't let them. That was Sheriff Pogel said, absolutely not. Crime dogs can't come down here. It's a crime scene. Cadaver dogs, no, we don't need them down here. The Drum Studio says, hey, good to see you. So Barbara Ellen says, Bobby talked to Casey. Really? I gotta let the dogs back in because it's a revolving door. Okay. So Bobby talked to Casey. Well, as far as you know, did it clear him? Because she hasn't went out in the public and made it sound like he was able to clear himself at all. I would love to know that Bobby didn't do this. Like I said, I lean towards the facts are that we have a police department, a county police department, the county sheriff's department, I should say, that is in the middle of depositions for a $36 million lawsuit. And we have those same individuals that are involved in those depositions residing where this victim's pings on her phone were last, within 2 miles. That's to me, personally, that's huge. Huge. Grandma says if Bobby was frightened of being prosecuted for the CD, they could not convict him now. Mr. or Ms. Hostel says, Bob, sorry for the uninformal ignorance you deal with. T1 says, laugh out loud at Justin's, thought you said Pete Ross. Oh my God. Oh, you guys kill me. Pete Moss. Pete Ross. Oh, Lord. Kimmy Monster says, he was waiting to go back to school. That young man was a gentle giant in my mind. Yeah, that part just... Do I get to go back and finish my school project? I mean, he had no concept. So Glenn MC says, we've seen the Dassey search history. Somebody in that house was a sick puppy. That somebody is most likely the last person to see TH alive. I will give you that. I will absolutely give you that. The only way that isn't true is if that computer was set up, implanted at the evidence table, and all this search stuff was planted in Bobby's computer, and then told him, hey, we're going to say it's yours, we're going to say you did all these searches unless you point to somebody else. But it all boils down to what we need is the truth, and the only way we're going to get that is for people to start talking. And we need to hear the truth, because how many lives have to, be affected? Okay, think of this. When the 1985 case of Stephen Avery was called up by its short hairs in 2003 during the depositions, when the truth had come out that the DNA proved that Gregory Allen had been the attacker and that Stephen Avery was 100% innocent, what kind of signal did our state attorney general, Peg Lautenschlager, send to all her boys in blue when she said no one had done anything wrong to Stephen Avery? Well, that's a scary thought when you look at the other locals that are coming forward and talking about the boys in blue being too big for their britches and overstepping grounds and ignoring laws and making it double standards. And it's like, I started figuring this out, and I'm going to save it for right here. I started figuring this out. There's this belief, I think, in these clubs that they need to get rid of the weak and the poor, and they need to be of social standing to be respected and worthy. Kind of like it clouds the gene pool. Because if you listen to the way Len Kaczynski described this family, was just satanic words. The way that Ken Kratz described this murder detailed was satanic words. He could have just said that the individual was murdered. We have evidence that does suggest that the two subjects we have in custody possibly may have been involved. More details to follow. But they didn't. You could see King Kratz telling that story as if he was reliving it or something. It was absolutely disgusting and morbid and immoral to throw that out there in the public's face. It shows that their line of thinking has been more or less, in, for lack of better words, very satanic, very evil, very wicked. And then you think of, we've got Devil's Park on the other side of Avery's, and then we've got Hotel Hell right above it. Were the Averys targeted because of the location in some way? Because they didn't want to play the games with the businesses, and they were already successful. Remember what Dave Pagoda says. If you're a business and you don't play the game that they want in that community, then they will destroy you. And now, it's kind of like what was Stacy Zipper said by Wiegert. You like to punch the bull in the face. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but you get it. Wiegert said that. So you look at this case. What did Stephen do when he stood up for truth? And he was showing the corruption, and he was making nation know that there was corruption within these counties. He was bringing the light right on it, the spotlight right on it. Do you think that was punching the bull in the nose, as they say, and that they were trying to use as an example? I do. And now look at the example that they've made of themselves. Kind of backfired. Big time. Yeah, you might have stole this life from this innocent child. You may have stolen the life out of this gentleman, but they will go down in history as two innocent men that were done so wrong. So wrong. Unforgivable. And not once for Stephen, but twice. Dirty, rotten scoundrels for Wiegert and Fassbender. Let's see here. Deborah Walden is asking Barbara and Ellen, how many burn barrels do you have at the time? 3 or 4? Oh God, that would help us to know so much. How many burn barrels did you have, Barbara? Kimmy Monster says, I want to get at them too. Mary, don't you have blue ribbons, Ducky? Don't have any blue ribbons, Ducky. Oh, Deborah Walden says, at Barbara Ellen, yeah, how many burn barrels? Let me see if she answers down here a little bit. I think we've lost Barbara. Maybe she'll come back. Or maybe she's just sitting quiet. So that's interesting. King of Plugs, which is a good listener, always comes. He wrote, I hope your son gets out. And it was questioned by YouTube if I should show it or hide it. Why? Why is YouTube, what are the bots retarded? Because all it is bots. Okay. All right, I think I got to the end of the feed, and I don't see an answer from Barb. Robert Slayers, thank you for the $2. Thank you so much. We'll throw it in the kitty for nocrimenotime.org. We have made everything free for everybody, so there's no membership dues anymore. Because I am very delighted to announce that our financial supporters paid for all of our little bills all over the place for our email campaign and for our website and for our video hosting privileges and our server, and everything got paid up all the way till 2021. So that's the fantastic news. So I'm very excited. Ian Rose says, Bushman never signed out from Kuss Road. He was in the back of the ambulance with the torso. His family have a funeral home to burn the torso. Huh. That's actually a pretty good theory. Dixie Crotch, I hope I said that right. Hi from the Netherlands. Is it Cratch? It's Cratch. Sorry about that. Says, love the cause, watched almost all the videos on MAM, and I'm excited to see what Zellner can do for these men and their family, and it's heartbreaking. Ian Rose says, Mary, Millbilly has found out some great info, guessing you've seen it. Ooh, I'll have to go look at Millbilly's channel again. Like I said, I've been working a lot, and I've just been catching little bits and pieces all over, so I will be happy to go look at that. I love finding out any new information on this case, and I love that even though somebody said we should all work together, I think there's some misunderstanding that we as truthers that do videos aren't working together. I think like to the times I've watched Millbilly's videos or Foul Place videos or Eric Cozy's videos or let's see, Andrew Whitehead's videos or Mindshock videos. We all, or even Grandpa's videos, right? Robert Boyd's videos, or Richard Boyd, sorry. We're all listening to each other, and it's all being kind of like, how do I explain it? Just like you guys do. It falls into the data slots, and we add it into the information. We dig deeper in some areas, and then maybe we come back with a video that's even a little bit on that topic, but just a little bit stretched, and somebody dug just a little bit deeper, and we got a little bit further on Kuss Road, or we got a little bit further with where her phone pings are and so forth. And I think that is a wonderful blend, because if we're all sitting at the same table, we tend to pick the same topics and we don't cover as much ground, if you ask me. So I'm supportive of anybody and everybody that, whether they do a YouTube video or they're just a Facebooker or a Tweeter or a Redditor. I mean, there's some amazing posts out there. And, hats off to Miss Piggy, because she's always out there trying to get somebody to let go of that RAV4. Hats off to Linus for trying to jump on these lives and encourage topics that he feels are important and still draw questions for him. Hats off to Grinding Gears, that shows us all kinds of interesting stuff by simply saying, is that a hair on the bumper? I don't know how many of you saw that, but Grinding Gears threw out a tweet, and it's a hair. In my opinion, it really looks like a hair hanging off the front bumper of the RAV in a state patrol picture. So if you guys want to start getting into that, and we can talk about that too. So let's see here. Yeah, I've never heard that Bobby talked to KZ. Well, I hope to God something good came out of it. I honestly do. Because if by chance Bobby is innocent, then they have really screwed that family over. The Drum Studio 5 says, gut feeling, not 100% if Bobby and Scott committed murder, but actively disliking him, knowing he had sink blood, knowing cops were interested in his demise, and Bobby's citing he was frameable. Yeah. Corey Zipper says, King Kratz very diabolical. Hey, Tammy Lee, good to see you. Hi. New to your channel and trying to catch up. Does anyone know if they ever found out who was calling her day and night? According to her co-worker, he said she seemed concerned. He had no bias. Well, now, you can't really say that, Tammy. I'm sorry, but Mr. Pierce was very questionable at times. He made some statements and so forth. He was the one that reported her missing to her family. And believe it or not, Tom Pierce, I don't know. I've just always looked at him. He said some stuff that's kind of thrown me. He talked a lot about Teresa in past tense before she was even thought to be dead, while they were just still looking for a missing girl. Tom Pierce was referring to her in past tense, like, I loved her, she was a good friend, as if she was already gone. But then again, so was Mike Halbach, her brother, and so was her mother. Excuse me. It's dry in here. Okay. A few more questions, and then I think we'll jump off here. Mary says, only one man did this, according to King Kratz. So why two in prison? Oh, boom, Mary. Nailed that. Good job on that. For real. And King Kratz's series of one way, in this way is how she died. And that'll be in this trial. And then we're going to make up a completely different way how she died. And we'll put that over here in this trial. You can't have it both ways. And Zellner made a reference once that you can't legally do that. And since Kratz didn't pass a bar, can he be held accountable for that? If that broke the law? Were you misrepresented? Because you had to have misrepresented one of the cases. You can't have it both ways. Either this happened, and this is how she died, or, because you can only die once, this happened. And unfortunately, it didn't seem to even bother anybody. It was just like, roll out the red carpet for King Kratz, let him handle both cases. He's main prosecutor, the special prosecutor for both cases. And he can say whatever the hell he wants to the media. He can say whatever the hell he wants. And then he has the audacity to jump online later and be like, if there was one thing I wish I could change, it's that one press release with Brendan and the evidence. What fucking evidence? Sorry, guys. Ian Rose says, Mary, it does. Cops on Kuss Road using a secret line on their radios to communicate. Calumet recorded it by air. Could be a big turning point. Oh my God. I hope you're right. Did you guys get that from Millbilly? Did he find that? Because he is like the sound king. Honestly. Kimmy, why isn't the media bringing this out? Well, go look up the Mockingbird Report. You know, the project. Honestly. Because the media is only going to say what the authorities allow them to say. Our media is bought and paid for. We don't have journalism anymore unless you're like me or Ari Cozy or somebody I've mentioned today. Like Mind Shock. That's a journalist. Andrew Whitehead. There's a journalist. We just go after what we believe to be true. And Paul Capaldi's a journalist. Because you're searching for the truth. You're doing the research. Paula says, hope that someone gets the reward and has the info to find the real killer. Lord, I hope that whoever gets that reward just hands it right to Brendan. You know. Kimmy Monster makes such an amazing point. They did this to white men. What have they done to the rest? I just lost her statement. She had a little bit more to it. Okay, she says, they did this to white men. What have they done to others? All cases will be in question. Paula Bradley says, hope that someone gets the reward. Okay, did that one. She also says, I think Bobby did talk to the investigator. That was when he went quiet about his computer. And that's how they knew to look into what was on Bobby's computer. But he didn't talk to Casey properly on Ma'am 2. Huh. Ian Rose said, yes, RD, I suggest you watch Millbilly's video from last night. Big info found. Will do. Right when we're done here, I'll go watch it. Drum Studio 5 says, always wondered, is there a link between the Avery family and Ryan or Halbach family? If so, surely the Taddett Barb family would have assisted the framing on behalf of a premeditated murder. Interesting. There was some sort of story out of school, as they call it, where somebody believed it's hearsay, but it's never been proven, but some believe that Ryan Hillegas used to actually hang out with Brian Dassey on the Avery salvage yard, but there was never a way to prove it. Just kind of local rumors, if you will. Paula Bradley says, Unleash the RAV4. What are they hiding? Well, which one, Paula? You want the green one or the blue one? Barbara Ellen says, none of the Averys, Dassey, or Taddich family didn't know the Halbachs before this. Thank you, Barbara. So, didn't know the Halbachs at all. Let's see. Barbara Ellen said, Bobby talked to Casey investigators. Okay. All right, so Bobby did talk to Casey. Has Scott? Kimmy Monster said, I've often wondered if Ryan Hillegas and her brother, Mike Halbach, did something. What bothers me is that her brother talks about her in past tense and his grieving process when his sister has only been missing for a day and a half. Okay? Now, yeah, there's going to be some grieving process when she's dead, right? How do you know to grieve a day and a half when somebody is simply not accounted for? Can you imagine how Home Alone the movie would have been if the family would have got on that airplane or wherever they went and then they didn't find Kevin for a day and a half and they just had a ceremony and just was a funeral? Oh, we miss Kevin. Kevin was such a good kid. We loved Kevin and talked in past tense. Would have been real funny, would it? Because there would have been suspicion on the mother and father. But yet, when they talk about Teresa in past tense, that's Tom Pierce did it, Teresa Halbach's own mother did it, and her brother did it. These are three people that are very intimate on a daily basis, according to their own testimony, on a regular basis. I shouldn't say daily, but weekly. Every one of them claimed to see Teresa weekly, and yet they all talk about her in the past tense. It's like she died earlier than they want to report. And then they report her missing after they already know she's dead or something. It's just strange. Grandma keeps pointing out that King Kratz never pass a bar. Hey, alert, aisle 4. King Kratz, paging King Kratz. Yes, King Kratz, you did not pass a bar. Because it is just sad, isn't it? You don't have to pass a bar in the state of Wisconsin. Just take the test or whatever. Just do the course. Drum Studio 5 says, thanks for clearing that up, Barb. What about Ryan? Was there any friendship there? Kimmy Monster says, how can he get away with lies? Oh, I know. You're talking about King Kratz. Zelma Lopez says, I worry about Ryan too. Oh boy, it went real fast. Mary says, yes, on Millbillies last night with a lot of guests. Awesome. Very cool. He has some very strong passion. That's one thing you can never accuse Millbilly of not having is passion. He's very passionate. Tammy Lee says, well, I'm really behind special prosecutor and didn't pass the bar. I'm confused. We're talking about King Kratz. Barbara Ellen cleared it up and said, no, didn't know Ryan either. Corey Zipper says, would like to work with Barb and Scott for a long time now. I've been wondering why they avoid Stacy, and like the truth would be a bad thing. Is Barb now finally ready to talk to us? I don't know, Corey. I don't know. Glenn MC says, was Randa ever asked by police or KZ if he knew the Hallbacks or TH prior to Teresa being murdered? I don't know. That's never been discussed. I've never heard it anyway. Well, Barbara says, we all talk to investigators. Kaboom Blam Zoom at Barbara Ellen. You said Bobby had another witness on Halloween. Who was that? Nan's Life 7 says, Tammy Lee, you are not required to pass a bar in Wisconsin, but they have a bar association. 2005 Bar Association Press was sitting in the courtroom during trial. Yeah. Because they went to Marquette University. We all know what that means. Barbara Ellen says KZ knows the witness. Okay. Was it Mike O? Are we talking about Mike Osmundson? Corey Zipper says, since we were entrapped by police and can prove it, why not talk to us? I bet we can help. I do think locals can come together and protect each other because you're dealing with a monster, bullshit, corrupt county officials there. And I think you locals coming together could band together to take some sort of actual action legally, like a civil suit or something. It just seems crazy when you really dig into this and you start realizing that these individuals are being twisted and coerced by basically criminals with badges. Glenn MC says, Days, it's his sister, not his goldfish, who has ever grieved for days. Oh my God. Yeah, because what Glenn's referring to is he talks about Mike Halbach, the brother. He's talking about he doesn't know how long it's going to take him to get over, the process of grieving. It may take 2 days. It may take weeks. I mean, he just makes no sense. And there was another slip up by Mike Halbach too, in my opinion. He made the comment. So a reporter leans forward with a microphone, and this is still out there. I just don't have it to show you, but I remember it very clearly. The Halbach investigator, they're looking for Teresa still, just looking for her. They have not found her. and I believe the car had been found at this point. And the interviewer leans the microphone to Mike, and just real quick, and as he's walking, he says something along the lines of, what would happen, or what would you think if they just found your sister alive and well? And I'm paraphrasing, keep that in mind, because I don't remember exactly what he said. In other words, what if they found her okay? And Mike said, that would be a big mess, wouldn't it? What the hell does that mean? In any context, Mike Halbach said something along those lines. Like I said, I'm paraphrasing. But it was very much like that. And I'm sure if you Google enough, you'll find it, because it's still online. That would be a big mess if we found... What? Who says that? So Tammy Lee says her brother is involved, and she makes a video saying if she died tomorrow, she lived a good life. What was she worried about? There was some hogwash story for a while that the video was made because she was in college and it was college project. Unfortunately, that is not the case. This appears to be actually something that she was making as a journal. Now, I think what it was is she was required to make a journal, keep a journal, like a video journal, for this course she was taking in college. What the topic was her own choice. So the topic of if I died tomorrow, and the casual way she talks about it, all dreamy like and very strange, it just leaves anybody that watches it with just an astonished, what the hell did we just watch video feeling, Nan's Life 7 says Mike Halbach was busy in handing out flyers November 3rd in Kellnersville. I can't say that. Kellnersville? Just 12 minutes from Avery Salvage Yard. Corey's leaving us. He says, thanks everyone for caring. Talk to you Tuesday, RD. Take care. Yep, I'll give you a call, Corey. It'll probably be middle of the day there. Drum Studio Fire says the fact that the Halbach seems so unsurprised tells me they already anticipated how it would pan out, and they were so happy to work with the state's narrative despite reasonable doubt. Yeah. Take care, Corey. I'll be in touch, love. Yeah, that is strange. Somebody's at the door, sweetheart. You want to go get it? I'm on live.
Do you know my mechanical pencils?
No, I don't. So, Mary says, Barbie, when you run out of court, you said it was a setup. You are right. Barbie, when you run out of court, you said it was a setup. You were right. Oh, I know what you're talking about, Mary. Yeah, it does lead us more and more to believe. What if? I'm just going to go out on a limb. Oof. Hate to do this with you guys because I feel like later people wonder if I just am stretching to find any method to bring to you guys. But the truth is, what comes to mind is that more and more I get pinpointed on an idea based on information such as her phone pinging in those areas. So if her phone is pinging the voicemail near Andrew Colburn's home, within 2 miles of his home, actually less than 2 miles, and then about 2 miles her phone completely pings for the last time ever near the Vogel family farm. Now what if, thinking of Kathy Williford, I feel like I'm on like The Mask, and I'm justifying my guess here, right? Okay, so taking into account those considerations, where she pinged last, where her voicemail pinged last was near Andrew Colburn. It was near the Vogel family farm. It was nowhere near Stevens. All right. So you've got Kathy Williford that Angela Schuster pointed out from Auto Trader. Angela Schuster, being an employee of Auto Trader, is saying Kathy Williford was a DOJ agent. Kathy Williford ran that course before her. So what if Teresa originally, to Teresa's knowledge, she was on a sting because she thought it was drug related, or even think of this. What if it was photography related? What if those Dassey computer with all those porn searches had red flagged the FBI? Okay. So being that we all know that Scott Blodorn applied for the FBI, it makes you wonder where he got that idea. Was Teresa FBI? Is it possible that Teresa was FBI and that she went in as an agent and posed to possibly break up sex trafficking, pornographic photography ring? What if Teresa was to break that ring up? Now think about what the locals have been saying, that there is a local law officials backing this pornographic ring. That would make Teresa Halbach a target. Actually, they would, if in theory there actually was a pornographic ring in that area, which we're hearing from every single local I talk to, whether it's Jim Thayer or Courtney Skinner, Corey Zipperman, Stacy Zipper, whoever I talk to local there, Dave Bagoda, they all talk about this pornographic ring. It now makes Teresa. What if Teresa thought, trustingly, that she was on a porno sting and was just there to go take a picture and maybe make contact with Bobby Dassey if he's doing the porno searches? Okay, follow me out. Now, or whoever was using the computer in that home. I'll leave it at that. Okay. Now, she makes her contact, but she's supposed to run to safety as quick as possible after this photograph. Let's just pretend that. Let's just pretend. So she takes off on her route that takes her left towards Larrabee and then doesn't even make it to Marable Cave. She takes a shortcut, beelining it to go past the cops because she's supposedly in this theory that we're walking FBI. And what if, poof, the girl never made it? Now, would that explain a lot of the problem in this case? You know, I watched this guy for 37 years. He served time for a crime that DNA proved he could not have committed. I think you've seen him too. Somebody was kind enough to show it on Twitter, and he went on to America's Got Talent. He's a singer. Just incredible. And it was interesting because he talked about how they just assumed somebody had to pay the price. That was his reasoning. He said in their minds, somebody had to pay this price. So if this was the true theory, if Teresa was FBI or an ABC official, makes you wonder, right? I'm just throwing theories out there. But if she follows Kathy Williford, maybe she was DOJ. She's got that cute little haircut that kind of reminds me military too. So let's say she's on a sting deal and she's supposed to, like Tinkerbell, tweet on over to the Vogel family farm or somewhere like that. And maybe she made it, but it was reported that she didn't. It's interesting when you think of like Kucerik and Bushman. You think, oh, they're such a... How would Bushman have anything to do with any of this? Oh my God. Kucerik and Bushman were together for like 20 years. They handled the Ricky Hochstetler case. Kucerik put Bushman in charge of the Ricky Hochstetler, 19-year-old hit and run, or was he 17? I'm sorry, I may have misspoke. Young fella, teenager, hit and run case, put Bushman in charge. And then Bushman comes out of reserve when there's a huge case in front of you for $36 million, and your main bud was Kuss Road, the former sheriff that arrested Stephen in 1985, who was being personally sued without insurance to back him. That's your main bud there. And you come up finding what you claim to be electronics on your dispatch calls from Kuss Road, by the way. Let's see, what do we got over here? Corey, I know you say you can prove, but we discussed that. You have proof of your situation. You do have proof that you have been done wrong. I agree. But you cannot say just it in those legal terms. You cannot say you have proof that the FBI made Teresa a victim, because we don't know that. We don't know that. So you got to be careful how you say it, hon. Casey Potter says, so much stuff going on with these cops. Drum Studio says, Barb, they set you all up. That is fair to say, given the dishonesty of these law enforcement. But why would Bobby's statement incriminate Stephen and contradict himself? Was he protecting himself? That's an excellent question. Nan's Life says, Mike Halbach was going to UW when this supposed crime occurred, and he was taking a course that he was actually scheduled to host a community disaster event at the time. TH went missing. Yeah, he was listed basically as a... It sounds terrible, but he was crisis management. Yeah. He was taking a course on crisis management. No wonder he's a spokesperson, right? Kimmy Monster says, cops in Ben Bennett case. Yep. Barb Ellen says, I believe KK got to him, referring to Bobby. All my boys are. She says, all my boys are good boys, hardworking men. Just breaks my heart. I have 3 boys. And I have a hard time. I'm divorced. Luckily, my children's fathers do not speak ill of me in any way. But I have watched children be caught in the middle of a divorce and one parent say ill of another and so forth. And that messes with kids. It can destroy a child. So now think of the divorced parents as Uyghur and Fassbender working that family over. Think about 2004 when the vehicle got burned and the law enforcement Manitowoc went in and did the investigation into the Avery family, and they investigated everybody in that household that had a license, and including the younger ones as well. And you have to look at it and go, were they just doing a trial run to get the disposition on which people were considered to be the weakest players that they could prey on? That's been a big question for me. Let's hear. Okay, Corey, just clear that up. Says, sorry, RD. Meant we were entrapped, not Teresa. Didn't mean to confuse. That's what I'm saying, Corey. I know you have good heart and great intent, and I know what you're saying. It's just when we abbreviate and so forth, and it's easy in chat to misinterpret. So I just want to keep clearing it up to protect you from any slander too. Okay? Timmy Lee said, a ring led by Kratz. Kratz's history with women is pretty slimy. But if Teresa was an agent, wouldn't that have come out at the trial? You know, I don't know. I have no idea. I really don't know. Drum Studio, I was just giving a theory out there. Drum Studio 5 says, I feel many of the Averys were puppets to law enforcement. Do you think Bobby was forced to give that statement? We'll let Barb answer that. Casey Potter says, I got a question. Where are you from and what got you involved in this? Where am I from? I am originally from Florida. And I moved to Wisconsin many moons ago. it got me involved in this case. I think I've shared this quite a bit, but Stanley Prison's very close to my home, and that's where Stephen was being released at the time in 2003. When I say very close, I mean within 30 minutes, 20 minutes, right? And so the headline came out. It was like about this rapist that was exonerated. They didn't even put it in terms of man found not guilty. From what I remember something about rapist. And I was like, oh my God, why are they letting rapists go? So I had to read the article because I was worried. I mean, right in our neck of woods, we had fought really hard not to even get the prison built in Stanley. So when it settled, I was like, great, now we got to watch our back. You know, you hear of people getting out of prison, running wild, and, you know, we're right here. We're in their backyard, right? So when I read that, I was like, what in the world? So I kind of got into a story a little bit. And then I started seeing in the news where every time I saw in the news, it was more money on the line. More money on the line. So Stephen was first suing for $450,000 or something like that when I first saw it. And then it climbed up to like 1.2 million, then 1.8 million. Then I think at one time it was like 9 million or 18 million. And then it was 36 million. And I just was like, oh, listen, Stephen, I wanted to whisper to him and be like, shh, shh, come here. I just want to say something. You're dealing with Wisconsin, beer and brats and Germans. Stubborn. They will never admit they're wrong. You just got out of prison, dude. I'm so worried for you. Move to Texas right now. Get yourself a high security system and just settle for like $6 million. Don't ask them to apologize or say they're wrong. Yet I kept witnessing Stephen get on there. It wasn't about the money. He wanted Wisconsin to apologize. And they're too narcissistic. Wisconsin is extremely narcissistic. They're not going to give up the guff and say they admit to anything. And so I saw a stalemate and I was like, oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And bam, Teresa goes missing. Right at the last second, where I'm like watching the clock. Deposition's going to be signed. Money going to be given to this guy. He's winning. Oh my God, he's given us strength to stand up against the corruption in Wisconsin because he's doing it. He's making a run for it. He's going to make them say they're sorry. And they squashed him like a bug. And I was appalled. I was like, oh my God, there's no way that girl just disappeared on her own. There is no way. And then when they said she was murdered in his own backyard, I was like, bullshit. I call BS. I call bullshit. There's no way. Then I faltered. I actually stood up for Stephen Avery right up until the point where Ken Kratz broke the evening news right in the middle of supper. My kids are eating supper. I'm eating supper. Almost choked on my baby peas because my kids hear the entire description of the news because Ken Kratz just basically said to turn away. And we had never heard the local news tell anything gory. So when he started this off, I just froze and listened to, and so did my children, this horrible murder of this young woman with throat being slashed and rape and mayhem and blood all over and being cut up and put back. Oh my God. And I knew they were lying. And then I faltered when all of a sudden they told me the Brendan Dassey thing. I faltered. Came out, nephew steps forward and admits to how the actual murder of him, he and his uncle committed this tragedy. And I was absolutely brokenhearted. I hated Stephen at that moment. Honestly hated him. I couldn't imagine why. It didn't make a lick of sense. I bought it hook, line, and sinker. So it was quite a number of years later. And about 11, 10, somewhere in there, 9, something like that, when Ma'am came out And a friend of mine was like, hey, you got to watch this documentary on a guy named Steve Avery. I'm like, are you shitting me? I'm going to watch that. Oh my God, how do I get my hands on that? And I watched it, and nobody had given me heads up at all about any of it. So when I watched it on Ma'am, hold on, got to get the puppy up. When I watched it on Ma'am, I got violently ill at times with how sick I was over the whole situation. I was so angry, I wanted to literally go punch people in the face that I felt had pulled this off. I absolutely understood it. When I was done watching it, my eyes were swollen from bawling because I felt like I had jumped on the mob bandwagon with my pitchfork and my torches to say, bad things about Stephen and Brendan. And then after watching that, it made sense to me. And I thought, I'm not going to be tricked twice. So I went online, and now what we know is I, like many thousands and millions now have done, we created the armchair sleuth role. And it's just been, it changed my life forever. I think I have a little PTSD. I don't trust anybody. I pause every time I see a RAV. I teach my kids things that I wish I didn't have to, such as if a police ever asks to question you or starts asking you questions, to immediately seek a lawyer, tell them you are a minor and you want your mother present, and don't you dare say nothing else. And I know my kids are innocent of everything. They're never even had anything wrong in their life. They're just kids, but I have to teach them that. I have to teach them that you can't trust everybody in school. That Altoona, Wisconsin's main superintendent was part of a sex ring, sex trafficking children. I have to tell them that kind of stuff because my eyes got opened. So, all right, let's get back over here. Mind Shock. Hey, good to see you. The Legend of the Bonfire. Ugh. Well, the one that was knee-high or the one that was up over the garage? I guess it depends on what time in the trial you're talking about. Because that fire, it grew. It just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was like, at some point, I think Scott Tadich actually was told in sign language by King Kratz to shut up with a finger over the lips, like the Hitler symbol for shut up, Casey Potter says you feel like his two lawyers tried hard enough for him or they are in on it. Oh, I've weaved back and forth. I feel like they dropped the ball. It was inadequate. I don't know anymore. The fact that they took King Kratz on a handshake for the identity of the victim rather than getting paperwork to prove it's Teresa Halbach. Why would you trust King Kratz? I don't care who you are. I didn't trust him from the second I heard that man's voice. Maybe that makes me very judgmental. Or maybe that means I listen to my gut more. But at the same time, how do you turn back the clock to unknow what we know to see how we would have done? What, Gretchy? Come on. She wants on my lap while we do this. Tammy Lee says, how long they planning to frame him, because it's not a coincidence that his girlfriend got her DUI and was in jail when it happened. She would have been his alibi and in the way. Oh yeah. It's full setup. We all know it's framework by the cops. My problem is, and some people aren't at this belief yet, or maybe they won't ever get there, but the timeline is too tight for me to accept that it was accidental in any way. I cannot imagine that it would be like lightning striking 3 times in the same place over and over and over again and winning the lottery that same moment for me to accept that just days before the depositions for 36 million that this girl just happened to die or disappear. I guess she's actually just missing in my book. Let's see. Kaboom Blam says they trusted Kratz too much. It cost them the trial. True. Absolutely true. Dark Sides telling Mindshock hi. Casey Potter says it don't matter if you're innocent, obviously. Mindshock says, or the one that didn't exist. I tried to do it like he does. Like I said, everything I do just ends up sounding Southern. Hey, Mindshock, we should get together sometime and actually do a video. I could sit by and you could do all the, for once I could sit by and just be the one that asks the questions, or you could ask me. But, because I feel like I'm always working with you and the others, because I feel like we have the common goal, and I'm very excited that we do have this answer from the state coming. I mean, if they're asking for a word extension, I'm praying that they're just locking into whatever they're going to say. I find it interesting that Kuss, hold on, I got to put my puppy somewhere. It's me, I had the doorknob. It's interesting, Kuss gets pulled up by a jury in whatever year that was in the last video we did about Kuss, and he's up for $15,000. The jury says that he's going to pay because the jury felt like Kuss trained his forces wrong when they basically raided a home of an elderly man, a mom, 2 kids, and some dogs. And the police went in there and they went gung-ho and ended up injuring people and shooting the dog and so forth. And jury finds Kuss guilty. And do you know, Kuss own people, the district, whatever, just turned that verdict right back over and said, nah, that don't cut it. What? Okay. Everything the jury said was based on the actual information provided that made sense. All of it made sense. None of it makes sense in the Avery case. Yet we can't even get in to get a trial, a hearing. I feel like we're going to have to, one day we're just going to have to literally just stomp up to the Capitol from all over the world. I mean, like a real rally. Not none of this, 30 people showed up and we ended up going to a biker club and drinking. I'm talking about the world flying in from New Zealand, flying in. Once the pandemic's over, we all get this together, where 1 million people show up at the Capitol with all signs that say, Governor Evers, help, do your job. Because right now, he's crap in so many of our eyes. Because he's let Brendan sit. Ezekiel 33:6 says, is Colburn still suing Netflix, or was that dropped? As far as I know, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's still suing. Mindshock says, beyond Avery Road, Beauty and the Beast, Chad Keller said there were 120 behind closed door off the record meetings between defense and judge prosecution. Weird, huh? Why off the record? Why so secretive? Mindshock, I'll tell you this much. So you need to really look at the situation as to when it went from the Avery task force to the new bill. So, and this is fact, you guys, the morning before Teresa Halbach went missing, the Avery task bill, which was the proper way to investigate people, looking at all the suspects, not targeting them. It was based on everything they did wrong in the 1985 case when they wrongfully convicted Stephen. So that's what the Avery task bill was. And it had Avery's name on it. He was meeting with governors, senators. He was on the news and so forth. He was shaking hands with the big guys, right? Mark Gundrum was behind him the whole way. He had his lawyers from the Innocent Projects. He was doing everything he could to expose the corruption in Wisconsin. That morning, before Teresa Halbach is missing on the 31st, the morning of the 31st, Peg Lautenschlager, the Wisconsin State Attorney General, swiped the bill out from under Avery, erased the name Avery, and gave the whole bill a new write-up, And that's when we got this whole crap about the way she wanted interviews to go. And it was all set up that played in her favor when it came to Brendan Dassey. Right? Later, she says, according to what was told in the media, was that the Avery tax bill was pulled away from Avery and his name removed out of the title out of respect for Halbach. How did they know to respect Halbach in the morning before she's even made her appointment to take a picture? I don't get that. So yeah, secretive meetings, could it have been because they had to have been planning this? How did they know to pull that bill out? Why it wasn't left Avery Task Force? You know? Kimmy Monster says, oh my God, bully cops. Glenn MC says, Chad K is weird. He's a guilter now. Chad Keller's a guilter now? Are you sure about that, Glenn? What would make Chad... I'll have to see that to believe it. Kimmy Monster said, who's profiting from Steven's setup? Do it like cops. The cops had motive. Yeah, the cops did have motive. Paula goes ahead and says, who benefits is the question and answer. You got that right. All right, guys, I love seeing you guys. I thank you very much for just jumping on a free-for-all Avery chat, kind of like, you know, enjoying this with me because I needed to talk to you guys. It's been a couple days. I've been working and, you know, life gets real stressful. And I always feel like it's therapy to feel like we're getting somewhere, even though sometimes I feel like we're not. Just getting the public aware more and more, and the new people that come in with their fresh eyes and their questions. You know, I may have heard 1,000 times that same question, but I will still continue to answer it for all the new people. And it's because we need their fresh eyes. We need that many people. If we're going to tweet Governor Evers, and 1 million people tweet Governor Evers for the release of Brendan Dassey, or even to get him to look at the case. Just get Brendan Dassey's name in there with Governor Evers on that tweet. We have till May 27th, which is Eric Cozy's and my birthday. And it's my birthday wish. And I think I worked hard on this case this year. So, ouch. Was that karma just kicking me that I could have worked harder? I don't know. I just want you guys to do that tweet. I thank Sean Mornay and the rest of you guys. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for always showing up. Hey, Debbie Ducky, I love to see ya. Thanks, Nan's Life, for coming on, and Paula Bradley. I do want to read this. Mind Shock says, Buting was connected to Lautenschlager. Too many weird things behind the scenes with those two. Can't say for certain Buting was 100% in his defense of Avery. I agree. There's, you know, there's some questions with Buting. Even some tweets he did back in the day. It kind of bothered me a little bit about the way he avoids talking about the RAV. I wish Buting would come on here and just answer all the questions about the RAV. I mean, if you're really for the defense and everything, I get it that you can't talk about everything, but you probably know what you can and cannot talk about. But I would love Buting, or even, like I said, Barb or Scott Tadich, either of you, I will treat you very respectful. I just would encourage you to come forward, talk to Zellner, or if you just want to talk to me, we can do that too. All right. Thank you, guys. Good to see everyone. If I missed your name and didn't say it, apologies from the bottom of my heart. So thank you, guys. You guys, much love and be well.